We are live. Hello.
They're talking about your lack of neck, and then I'm
No,
like,
well, that
yeah,
now
I think
it
we're
wouldn't have been
live.
on, but now it is. Thanks. Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. I'm your hostess with the mostest.
Oh my goodness.
Here with the husband. We're going to talk about some movies. First, we need you to go check us out. Right now, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. Go like, show, thumbs up, share, compartir, tell everybody you know.
Hey, don't say those things.
And then you need to go find us on the Twitter and the Instagram. Go search for Hollywood Matrimony. We're there. Also, don't forget to check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. There's this cool thing called the contest button. That's where you want to be because that's where all the free stuff is. All right.
You said a lot, and you said nothing.
I said everything that matters. We could end the show right now, and it'd be awesome.
We could end the show right now. Nobody even know we never finished our show.
Yeah, they would. Eventually. Somebody would tell us. People are probably getting out, going to barbecues and dumb things.
We're live about 30 minutes early. We opted to try to jump right into it. One, because we figured a lot of people are going to go to the fireworks tonight. Try to get a little sooner. Also, before the fireworks starts, maybe the dogs won't bark as much during the show.
These dogs are very upset.
But it is what it is. When you're pet owners, you deal with these kind of things.
They were so upset last night.
So we're hoping that most of us last night, but today is 4th of July. So,
today is the day.
Real celebrations again. And because 4th of July, special America show.
America.
We have a couple of things that are about true America to discuss today. And a couple of things that have nothing to do with America.
There you go.
So what you got, sister?
Okay, I'm telling everybody to watch our show.
I've already done all that.
How?
Because I had both things all typed and ready to go. So when you went live, all I did was share the link, hit go, and I was done. Because I'm not piddle farting around with other things.
That's rude. Okay.
I am America.
Are you? I'm America. What are you talking about?
Are you, though?
All right. So we have several things to choose from today. Hold on. You're going to hear
We
sounds.
have one that only I saw, then the other one's everything else we saw together.
Okay.
So, and we're also going to do a retrospect like we do anytime a new sequel comes out that we'll talk about.
So do you want to just start with
I
that?
can start with that. If you
Okay.
want.
Let's start there, buddy.
Okay. So the first one I'm going to discuss is another one that I believe was probably supposed to be. Sorry.
Supposedly.
I had to enunciate. I believe it was supposed to be another theatrical release, and I'm sure it got pushed to straight to HBO Max due to the COVID stuff. But it's a movie called No Sudden Move from Steven Soderbergh, which, if you don't know who director Steven Soderbergh is, which you do, even if you don't know, you do.
I do, and I don't know I do.
He does. He did Magic Mike.
Okay.
He did Out of Sight, which is a great movie from back in the day. But most notably and sadly all too relevant, he also did Contagion.
Oh, yes.
Which last year was not the movie to be watching.
But it was actually on the charts, I think, on Netflix.
It was because it was almost identical what was happening in the country.
A little bit creepy.
But he's back, and he's also very unique in he has done a lot of his movies and shot stuff directly on the iPhone. So, like, shot whole movies on his iPhone.
That's kind of cool. I mean, now with the double or the triple cameras, you get a really good picture.
And not doing stuff like found footage stuff, like performers with the iPhone.
Well, now they have the little mini cam, steady cam holder.
He's done a couple of those. But he's back with this movie, No Sudden Move. This time it's got Don Cheadle, Benicio del Toro, Brendan Fraser, Kieran Culkin. I'm trying to think of who else in it that I can tell. David Harbour, John Hamm. So it's got a nice little eclectic group. It's a very crime film noir.
Yeah, it looked it just from the look of like the suits and hats.
Yeah,
and
it's a period type piece.
I'm down already.
It's a crime caper heist.
I was supposed to watch this, didn't I? And I ran
You were when I forgot to tell you to. I forgot to remind you to watch it on Saturday while I was at class.
Shoot, I would have watched it.
But it's one of those that after I watched it, I had to sit with it a bit to find out did I like this movie, did I not like this movie?
Sometimes that's actually pretty fun.
It's kind of a talkie, if you will.
It's a talkie.
Meaning it's more about the dialogue. It's very Quentin Tarantino-like.
Okay.
Where it's a lot of, dialogue.
You got to keep up.
Back and forths and things like this that really carry the film. But at the end of the day, I really dug this movie.
Good.
And the basic premise is there's very much like in Pulp Fiction, it's another aspect where the whole thing was that what's in the briefcase that everybody wants. This one is about a file that everybody's trying to get. and you never really see what's in that file or hear much about it. But ironically, it's following something that's a true story in the element of all of it.
Oh.
And it's about the, oh God, I just went blank. Hold on, let me pull it back up so I can tell you. At the end of the movie, it goes through and it tells you, you know, kind of a, I don't know if the story is real because I hadn't really looked into it like I should have, but the thing that they're dealing with is in fact real. Hold on, let me pull it up. And of course, it was directed, photographed, and edited by Steven Soderbergh, who does that a lot. Where's it at? Where is that? Oh, crap. Anyway, it has to do with the car, a document in relation to emissions on cars. That's what it is.
Oh.
So, and it's about how that was changed, but then no fines were levied or anything else. So anyway, so there's this crime that happens.
That's kind of cool.
Where they're trying to steal it, and then of course, you know, there's double crosses, and twists, and families involved, and there's cheating spouses, and there's crooked cops, and there's good cops, and it's just that kind of movie that it's really, I can't tell you a lot about the movie because then it would spoil every little element, including there's an actor that's not advertised in the film that pops up that I was like, wait, what? That person's here?
That's cool. I like when that happens.
Which is not surprising. Steven Soderbergh's probably biggest films outside of Magic Mike. He also did Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12.
Yeah.
And I believe he did Ocean's 13. So known for the Ocean's movie. And I will give him a hint. The surprise actor that showed up is from the Ocean's movie. So I can say that because those are also ensemble casts.
Not the ensemble.
So there's no way to figure out which one it is.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I like it.
But yeah, it was a surprise turn, and they have a big part. It's not like a little quick cameo, and they're pivotal to the bigger story. But there's a little violence here and there, but it's very crime noir, heist, gangster, twists and turns. There's a little bit of comedy, but it's very much Tarantino.
Okay, so it's that vibe. I get it now.
Tarantino like a lot of talking. So it's one of those that I think that could also put some people off because some people might get bored with it. Being like, there's just too much talking, there's nothing happening, but that's part of the dialogue.
Part of it, though.
There's even like one double cross moment where, without saying anything about the characters, but it's like they're like, I thought we were. And I love this. This scene has been done before, where the person, Goodfellas has the best one when they, right at the instant they realize they just got screwed, and they look at the person, they're like, and then the gun shop happens. Like that, my favorite scene. That's one of my favorite scenes in Goodfellas is when Joe Pesci is all scheduled to go become a made man. Yeah. And in reality, it's because he screwed someone, he beat up some guy earlier in the movie. He walks in the room.
They take him to that house. And
he goes into that bar, and it's plastic on the floor, and it's empty, and
he's like,
and the guy shoots him in the back of the head.
Right when you walk into the house, it's plastic.
He knows as soon as he walks in there. That's a brilliant scene. Anyway, this movie is, I think it's really good. I think it's a shame it didn't hit the theaters.
Yeah, because this would have been cool.
I also think this is one that probably would have fallen under the radar. Because even the trailer isn't overexciting, but it has an old, like 60s, 70s vibe to the trailer, like the exploitation films and that kind of stuff. But the upside is you can check it out now on HBO Max exclusively. I don't believe it's one that's only for 30 days. I think it's just going to be there now. So if you have HBO Max, check out No Sudden Move, Don Cheadle, Benicio del Toro, Brendan Fraser, John Hamm.
And mystery people.
And Steven Soderbergh. Yes, it's on there. Check it out. That's a lot of people from comic book movies in there. Because, you got Don Cheadle and Benicio del Toro both in Marvel. Yeah. Brendan Fraser's on Doom Patrol. David Harbour is the one playing Red Guardian and Black Widow. So it's like all the comic book people are here. Yeah. And the other person that shows up is actually in a superhero film too. What? Which, again, I'm not going to tell you which universe because that could connect. Anyway, all connected. Check it out. It's on HBO Max now. No Sudden Move.
Okay. Now, where do we want to go?
Wherever you'd like. This one's going to take long. So we got that one, and then we got the other American. Why don't we do this one?
This one?
And then the next one will go start our America discussion, and then this goes into our...
But what about this?
Oh, yeah. Let's do both of those. Pick one.
Let's go here first.
Okay.
We'll go America, then not America, and America, then not America.
So our next one is another one that was a victim of the pandemic. It was supposed to be a theatrical release, and it's one that probably should see on the biggest screen as you can.
Yeah, I agree.
But instead, it was sold to Amazon, if I'm not mistaken, for like $200 million. Wow. Like almost the whole budget of the film.
Wow.
And what is this movie, my dear?
This is a movie called The Tomorrow World.
War.
Tomorrow War.
Yes.
War on.
Not
Starring Chris Pratt, the lady that makes me angry.
Yvonne Stravinsky. I can't ever say it. She used to be on Chuck.
Correct. Stravinsky.
She makes you nuts on The
Handmaid's Tale. Oh, Lord. And then a bunch of other awesome people.
And a super jacked J.K. Simmons.
Because he came on the screen, he was wearing a shirt, and we're like, wait a minute.
What's funny is I
I
told you there was a.
I was like, what is happening?
There was a picture that came out of him back when he was announced to play Gordon in Justice League.
I was like, that's a pretty buff Gordon.
Or Batman, Superman, or whatever he was in.
Yeah.
And so everybody assumed he was training for the Gordon thing, but then everybody's like, why does he need to be buff for Gordon? And so I don't know if it was just for this, for his both, or then he just got into training after that.
Maybe he's into it
in
now.
Greenland, he's wearing those big coats and stuff, so you can't really tell if he's jacked or not. But yeah, so he's like, and this isn't just like, hey, he's fairly muscular. Like, he made Chris Pratt look out of shape. He's big.
He had bigger muscles right at this moment. It was bizarre.
Look, the first thing you type in J.K. Simmons, ripped.
Wow. So the premise of the movie is that in the future, the world is engulfed in war.
Nice image that got released.
That's awesome. And so they're coming back to get soldiers.
Back. Sorry.
To draft soldiers to go to the Tomorrow War. Okay, and that's kind of explained in the trailer, but just so you know, it's future worlds. They're coming back to get us, to take us to the future.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know. And we're fighting critters. We're always fighting critters.
Can I say that I was not overly excitable from the trailer? It never really fully, like, I love Chris Pratt.
I agree.
As a funny person, I like him in action. He's established himself that he can clearly be an action person. But the trailer just never fully, it almost looked cheesy initially.
Yeah, and the way I would describe it is, you see how the poster's gray and the world is gray? That's how I felt about the trailer. Like, okay.
Well, see, and I don't know if it was because I saw the trailer like 4K or something like that, but it also just looked like a straight-to-video movie initially.
Yeah.
Well, and so then I wasn't surprised it was on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh, it's a TV movie or something.
Until I saw the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it should be on the biggest screen possible.
I don't know if it was a boo-boo, an advertisement or something, but I get what you're saying. Yeah. I was just like, oh yeah, we're gonna fight some critters. Let's go. But I wasn't invested in it going into it.
But I will give them credit. Like, to my knowledge, none of the trailers I ever saw showed the creatures.
Correct.
So we got to see them, surprise them. And to me, I think they're some of the coolest creatures have been
they're interesting.
Put together in a while in a film like this.
Yeah.
I don't understand, because I've heard a lot of bashing on this film.
Oh,
I don't get, because I thought this film was a blast. I really liked it.
I think the only thing I didn't like is sometimes it felt long.
It did. It has
now?
like, I think, 3 moments where you think it's ending and then it keeps going.
Yeah, so that was the only thing that I thought. I mean, I thought it was good. I would watch it one more time. I want to watch it again just to kind of see if there's anything I missed.
It screams, and ironically being released this weekend, it screams the same vibe of Independence Day.
Correct.
But with a time travel thing instead of just straight up space battling. It has some kind of a little bit of the comedy. It's got tons and tons of action. There
are so many people in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, there are a ton of stars in this movie and people that you're going to recognize from other shows and movies, and they may just be there for 5 or 10 minutes, but there are a ton of people in this movie.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the movie. It had kind of a 90s nostalgia to it.
Yeah.
It's apparently a book. I don't know if it's a whole series or just one.
That makes sense.
But it's one that they do some fun twists with the time travel, which is stuff we've seen before. It's not it's handled in a unique way.
Yeah, and it was smart.
Yeah.
Because there's even a dialogue amongst the characters about butterfly effect, essentially, and the whole time thing. So I was like, oh, okay, at least we handled it, because that would be my question. Is like, well, you can't go into the future because you're going to jack up the past or whatever. So
and can I tell you,
deal with it.
One of my favorite elements of this movie is when you're drafting people for wars like this. In movies, we always see them drafting the soldiers, and people look like they're ready to go to war, even if they're afraid. But in this one, like, you see like a soccer mom trying to put a vest on, and You see guys that have no idea how to deal with their guns, and it made it feel more like this is what would really happen if you're having to draft this thing. And then they took the people and said, okay, because of your skill level, you're going to go do this. It wasn't just everybody's fighting.
Correct. They had some sort of a thing. The funny thing was, like, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. Just put this vest on. Here's a gun.
Yeah,
and some of these people are just like
there's some lady soccer mom in her like khaki slacks and her blouse and her like slip-on shoes, and she literally got out of a van.
This makes no sense.
Yeah, she got out of a van to put on
a vest.
That's one blank. Anyway, yes, we'll say vest.
A bulletproof.
Anyway, she's put on a vest and she's got a machine gun,
and they're all like,
what
do we do? So, but
tactical vest.
There you go, whatever. But I mean, they were having to kind of on the fly show people, how do you do your gun? What do you do? I mean, this would be like me going to war right now. In my head, I think it'd be awesome, but I don't even know how those big guns
and the
work.
other thing I thought was kind of clever was what happens in most of these movies, and you have to just accept it. So if you say you throw a Stallone or Schwarzenegger or Statham or any of these different action stars or Van Damme, any of them, when they get put in a situation like this, you already know that they're going to be a special forces person who gets thrown in this heat of it. They're going to be the reason they save everything, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And there's really no other reason, other coincidence. This one, I like the fact that there's actually a reasoning why Chris Pratt's character is more important. Mm-hmm. And it's not the reason you even think of.
Correct.
It's just an interesting angle to how they did it and why he's important and why he's, yes, he has military background. That says there's that scene in the trailer that's in the movie where the guy's like, how do you know all this about guns? He's like, it's a long story. And he goes, ex-military? He goes, I guess it's not a long story. And that's all you need to know.
Yeah, you find out at one time in the recruitment center, he did like 2 tours in Afghanistan, and then they move on.
Yeah, you never dive into some long, drug-out story that he's this badass guy.
But they give you a little insight into who he is and what later happens.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what time period, but later something happens and you understand why.
And for which is fairly uncommon, Chris Pratt plays more of the straight character.
Yeah.
He's not as campy and silly as he does a lot of times, because he's very much like a Ryan Reynolds, where they both in their action usually have witty banter and comedic mentality, but they both are kind of badass when they carry stuff. This one, he's very much more the straight guy, family man, doing what he's got to do to get back. And there's some emotion to it and there's stuff. I mean, I can see why some people may not fully invest because they're like, oh, of course, whatever, Yeah. And even like when you talk about being wrong, I didn't get that feeling because the pacing I thought was really well done. But it is very Lord of the Rings like, where it feels like it's over and then something else happens. It feels like
it's like, okay, great. Oh, just kidding. It was one of those moments. Yeah, The Forever War is a book, science fiction novel by Joe Hadelman, telling the story of human soldiers fighting an interstellar war. Okay.
But the aliens are badass. The action is badass, or the creatures, whatever they are. They do a lot of creative stuff with them.
Critters.
I even like it more now that I know my buddy Troy Brenna is playing some of the aliens. So if you don't know Troy Brenna, he's a stuntman motion capture guy. He's a big dude. There's a picture of me and him. I got to find that, see if I can post it, of me and him in a hotel in a hallway. And he's got his arm around me. And my head comes up to his armpit. Looks like him and his child. Just massive dude. He's the one that played Buffy Demons.
Yes.
He was also motion capture for the original Hulk in the first Avengers movie. He's been in a ton of stuff. But he plays some of the aliens. And he's been posting videos this week. He posted a scene of this alien in the snow thing doing stuff. And then he posted 2 clips of him in the motion capture suit running, doing stuff. There's a scene where an alien grabs thing and he's flinging it around. So it's him just in the snow flinging around like a weirdo. And then you see it come together in the kind of the movie magic aspect of it. But don't watch that until you watch the movie, because it does kind of, it's not really a spoiler, but it just kind of gives you away a moment.
My question to you, which is funny, I was like, since we're always fighting these creatures, do creatures in their own planet have movies where they're fighting humans?
Probably, but we would be aliens in the other.
I know, we're the aliens.
And here's the thing, though, I know you also asked me about, well, would we even stand a chance because of the technology?
Yeah.
But if we had the technology to get to them, then we probably did have the technology.
So in their movies, the humans are the aliens with advanced technology.
Probably.
That's bizarre.
I like that the whole thing was not about how do the aliens get here, how do we do this, how would they get all these things, it's do they watch movies.
I bet they do. They have to have some form of entertainment.
They don't. They could just be all about intergalactic destruction and conquering.
I mean, having a society where all you do is work all day, that's not good.
That would make you irritable and want to conquer things.
I guess so. Anyways, The Tomorrow War is available now to watch on the line.
On Amazon Prime, exclusively streaming there.
So, and most of y'all have Amazon Prime because I know y'all be shopping all the time.
Yeah.
So you can now watch this movie.
It is not an extra cost. It's part of Amazon Prime. And Chris Pratt, as much as he's been promoting this movie, he is still a big stickler for full-on cinema. Yeah. So he's talking about, and this is one, if you get a chance, if you have a big screen TV, biggest screen, loud system, this is one of those that should be seen on a big screen and with a loud sound system.
There you go.
Annoyed your neighbors, the things are screaming and exploding and dying.
Yes.
There's a reason it's called war.
Yeah, some of my favorite things happen in this movie, too, so... It was good times.
Cuddles and...
Yes, cuddles. And
she loves alien cuddles.
I do. The aliens cuddle the humans.
Anyway, check out The Tomorrow War on Amazon Prime.
Check it. Okay. Next, we are going here.
Yes. So this next one has nothing to do with America.
Nothing.
This is actually a horror flick that hit Netflix this week. And it's part 1 of 3 films to come out.
I am so excited.
Which she knew nothing about it.
Nothing.
I only knew of it coming out. I didn't have a big knowledge of and I didn't write a review for this one. So.
Okay. I'll just link you to the thing.
Didn't have a big knowledge of what they were doing with it. Other than I knew it was a series of books. It's a movie called Fear Street Part 1, 1994. And believe it or not, yes, this is a slasher type flick. Lots of blood, craziness. But it's based on a series of young adult novels from R.L. Stine.
Which are not slasher.
Yeah, who did Goosebumps. And I'm assuming his books, those were probably more graphic because they were young adult novels. Because Goosebumps are always more younger kid.
Yeah.
Who R.L. Stine, I'm reading R.L. Stine book right now.
Oh,
He's also currently writing the Garbage Pail Kids books.
Since
I'm a Garbage Pail Kid artist, I figured I should read the books. And let me tell you, they're silly little kid books.
Okay.
So I probably shouldn't be reading this book.
Yeah.
It's a little under my age. But I like farts.
You do like farts.
So anyway, this movie, Fear Street, Part 1, 1994, is basically, well, I'll let you tell the story. Because you're...
Okay, so basically we are in the year 1994.
How did you know that? Spoiler!
I know. And it looks like a series of killings has occurred. Dun, dun, dun. But then upon investigation, you know how you have those little inquisitive kids who are like, oh, upon investigation in the history of the town, and it comes up in the credits of the film as it's rolling, you see that every few years some sort of a mysterious killing spree happens in this town. So people just think this town is cursed. Is it?
So what they've done is, one of the things I read is they were developing this to be a Scream-like trilogy.
Correct.
And what has happened, as we discussed the film, is there is in fact 3 movies. They're all done already, and they're going to be getting released every week on Netflix. So this is this week, next week is the next one, the next week is that next one. And so it has like a be continued kind of tags on it. It is a film that's really hard to tell you about because then it would spoil things.
Yeah, just know perhaps there is a curse on the town. Killings happen every few years.
One of the things I give them props for, because one of the hardest things to do in a slasher flick is be creative with your kills.
Yes.
And the more creative you get, the better it works. And
yes.
People have been talking about it online, so I'm not going to spoil what they do, but there is a great kill involving a bread slicer.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. And that actually doesn't narrow down because there's a lot of different versions of bread slicers. So
I like that even though we're in a young adult role, we're going for the slasher film. And I think it's interesting because typically, in your typical slasher movie, the rules are that they're young adults, they're doing dumb things, they're drinking, you have sex, you die. I mean, all that. But these are...
She learned all this from Scream.
Correct. That's the formula. But I like that we've taken that down a notch. These are just normal kids. Nobody's having sex and doing drugs everywhere. There might be a few elements of that.
Right.
But it's not over the top. What would you say?
It's not all cliche.
Correct.
but it's also current topic.
It's current topical. So they
deal with some gay relationships. They deal with the normal kid that doesn't think he's worthy of the other girl, but the people that don't match and the
and like
weirdo
the nerdy kid, the weirdo kid, kind of the strange kid you think's on drugs, but he's actually just a really nice kid.
Can I just say, as annoying as a lot of them were, I didn't really hate a single one of the kids in the movie, which is rare because in the slasher flicks, you usually hate one, if not all of them, and you want them to die.
Right.
That's why they develop them this way, because makes you excited to watch them be destroyed.
Well, that's how
there's a couple of annoying ones in this one, but
the preppy kid, the football kid.
I still wanted them to die because that's the point of the movie. But I didn't find any of them irritating me, like they normally do.
And the other thing that I appreciate with this coming, you have to think mentality. It's a level down from your screams of stuff because now we're dealing with high school kids trying to solve a mystery. And I like that they're not completely spoon feeding it. Like they give you information, and you're like with the kids, you have all the information. Now you got to figure it out. Yeah. And I like that we're all working together. We do have a really...
It has a Scooby-Doo vibe to
it. It does. And we have a good diversity within the kids. Like, there's a brother and sister. They don't explain that relationship.
Yeah, that one's kind of light-skinned, one's black. And
because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think that's the cool thing I like about it is we're dealing with that. We're dealing, there's a gay relationship. That obviously parents are angry and all these things are happening and how are you going to deal with it? So that's kind of in there too. But the big thing is trying to solve this mystery of who's doing these killings and what's going on.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that all this other extraneous stuff, it's there, but it doesn't matter. And I love the looks of these killers.
Yeah. They go with a good variety. Good. They take shots and vibes from other movies in the 90s. Mm-hmm. The music, very 90s. Like I
was all into it because 1994. That's when I graduated.
Well, I graduated in 92, so
I was feeling the spot. I was with all the song. B. Dalton bookstore. Just know it's there.
They mentioned it. We're more excited about they mentioned B. Dalton and then start discussing who bought B. Dalton. What happened to that? It was
they got bought out.
But what's funny is or not funny. What baffles me is as we talk about I love the music here. Somebody else watched it and they were like, my biggest issue with the music in this movie is couldn't they have picked so-and-so and so-and-so? It just seemed like they took the top 40 and put those in there. It's because it's somebody that probably listened to weird alternative music at that time that nobody's heard of.
Yeah.
And who wants that kind of music other than 3 people?
Yeah, you have to go with your mainstream.
And almost every song they picked, they never overpowered the movie with that music.
Correct.
They were kind of in the background.
Yeah.
Enough where there's one Snoop Dogg song that I'm sitting there singing along with. And it's fading out, and I'm like, I don't need this movie. I just keep going without them. But they fit, each song fit the vibe, and it may just barely get into the song and then shift into another song because it's very much trying to play up the 90s mentality. Mm-hmm. So I really had a blast. So I thought it was a fun movie.
The other thing that I appreciate about this, because remember in the 90s, that's the latchkey kid period.
Yeah.
And if you remember, there are no parents anywhere. All these kids are home alone. They're babysitting kids. They're going to work, walking home and stuff at night.
That was me.
From your job at the grocery store or whatever. And there are no parents anywhere. And I was like, they're bringing in that latchkey thing because that's our generation. You didn't ever have that life. No, because my brother was 5 years older than me. He's different generation than me. And so I'm X. He might be Gen X with us, but he always drove me everywhere. He'd come pick me up or drop me off.
Yeah, see,
then by the time I got to high school, my dad bought me a car because I
was an only child, and so I walked everywhere I could, and my birthday was in the summer, so I didn't get a license until after that end of the school year. So a lot of my friends were driving before me. And when I got my first job, at 16, before I had a car, I had to walk. So y'all don't know where we're at. But if you think about where my parents live now,
yes,
I worked at a video store, shocking turn of events, called Photoland because they also develop film.
Okay.
It was at almost where, not quite there, but almost where Long John Silver's was.
Oh my gosh!
So I walked from my parents' house.
Far.
Down there.
That's pretty far.
And I'd walk home sometimes.
Do you not have a bike or anything?
Sometimes I'd ride my bike, but then my bike got stolen.
Oh my gosh.
From in front of
but that's at night too when you leave your
Tom
job.
Thumb, because I worked at the Tom. No, I take it back. My first job was at the Tom Thumb. Then I moved over I worked at the Tom Thumb, and my bike got stolen while I was at work at Tom Thumb, which I found the bike and the guy that stole it. That's another discussion. But then I only had to walk to Photoland 2 or 3 times, and I worked until midnight at night.
Oh,
so,
that's so scary.
I remember one time my parents fell asleep and forgot to come get me, so I walked home, or at least halfway, and then they remembered about me and came and got me.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary.
Anyway.
Anywho, there's a lot going on with this movie. I loved every minute of it. Does my favorite thing happen in this movie?
Yes.
I think so. And there's some good...
No,
it actually
that
didn't.
was in the other movie.
But there's some good kills. There's some creative kills. There's... Yeah.
Supernatural stuff.
Supernatural.
It's pretty much everything you've seen in almost every slasher type
Good
flick.
slasher. Some hatchet. Some knives. Some whatever. And the cake thing. I mean, it's all over.
So what it does is at the end of the film, it reminded me of Back to the Future when after Back to the Future 2 came out, then it immediately showed a trailer for Back to the Future 3.
Yes, I loved that trailer.
So it said to be continued, and you just think it's over, and all of a sudden it shows a trailer for the next week's. So next Friday, the next chapter, which is Fear Street Part 2, 1978, which they start telling the story at the end of this film.
At the end of this one, you just get the mysterious phone call. It's like, it's never going to end.
Well, no, remember, it kind of does like a little after credit scene.
Yeah, no, but the movie kind of fades out where it's like, ring, ring, hello. You know, just like Scream.
Yeah.
Instead of what's your scary movie, favorite movie, whatever, it's like, this is never going to end. This has happened before. Dun, dun, dun. To be continued. And then you get the preview.
Yeah, and the preview is jumping back to 78 at a summer
Let me
camp.
tell you what happened in 1978.
We're planning to talk about each chapter. And so all the different killings, obviously, and each one's going further back. So it looks like this one's going to go back to what kind of led to this first movie. And then the next one, which is Fear Street Part 3, 1666, I think is going to go back to where it all began.
The beginning.
So it's kind of backwards telling the stories. But the amount of stories that are kind of set up in this movie, they could probably do a whole other trilogy if they wanted.
Because remember, there was one point where they started showing all these weird killing things. I'm like, that could be a movie, that could be a movie. Yeah. I mean, they're all could be a movie.
They could keep making these if they're successful, and it'd be fun if every year they put out like a series. And I think the same person directed all 3 of the movies.
Oh, that's good.
So we'll talk about Fear Street Part 2, 1978 next week. But you can check out Fear Street Part 1, 1994 on Netflix right now.
It is so good. You need to watch it right now.
It is bloody, so be prepared.
That's good.
So, anyway.
I don't know what. I know that's a warning for some people, but
yeah, just depending on who you're watching. It's not a kids movie. I mean,
no, I know.
And our next film, despite being an animated feature, is in fact not a children's movie.
Again, not a children's movie. Please warn those.
But it is the most American film you could possibly watch on this glorious day of the 4th of July, and it is called
America,
the Motion Picture.
There you go.
And it's the absolute true story.
Yes.
Rude.
Sorry.
It's the absolute true story of the American Revolution and all the things that go on during that time period. I'm just going to let that sit with you, and then I'm going to tell you and then I'm going to read you the synopsis, not tell you.
Okay.
Let me get back to it because I didn't have it pulled up like I thought I did.
Okay.
So this is a movie that is another Netflix film. It's an animated feature from the people that work on Archer, which explains a lot.
It explains so many things.
Now that I've told you that it is true, and it says the absolute true story. It says it on the opening thing of the movie. So it's
then it must be true.
It says America the Motion Picture follows the incredible, completely true story of America's origins that have remained shrouded in mystery, lost to the sands of time. Who built this country, 'tis of thee, and why? Only the dinosaurs know, until now, where a chainsaw-wielding George Washington teams with beer-loving bro Sam Adams to take down the Brits in a tongue-in-cheek riff on the American Revolution. That is probably the most normal aspect of this whole movie.
The fact that it's Sam Adams, the Boston Lager guy, not Sam Adams, the founding father.
Well, that is who it is. He is the Sam Adams, the founding father, and that's why they name a beer after him. So they use it. So here's what it is. Is this movie?
He just shows up with
genius.
beer. I mean,
this movie is genius.
It's ridiculous.
Sam Adams is like a fraternity beer chugging crazy person. George Washington is essentially a Captain America-like.
Yeah, but I was
his
like, why do they have chainsaws?
His best friend. They were chainsaw blades. His best friend was Abraham Lincoln. You have Paul Revere, who wears like knight's armor for some weird reason. You have who's the scientist?
Thomas Edison.
we're not even going to tell you about what they do with Thomas Edison. There's just like a slew of historical figures that are basically a superhero team. They team up to fight Benedict Arnold.
Yeah.
Who is another issue.
There's so much happening.
Funny. It's got everything from references to RoboCop to Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you.
I mean, and even though it's the story of the foundation of America, we still get to see some of our heroes like Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Lin-Manuel Miranda. They're all there because they are the true heartbeat of Americans.
The funeral for Abraham Lincoln.
Yes, you just pan across and like, that's Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Did you say Tyler Perry was there?
No, JFK, Martin Luther King.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, what? And then, okay, my favorite part, I don't know, I don't want to say, but just the getaway driver is my favorite part because I'm like, what?
Oh, the transporter scene. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
that's so funny,
guys. This movie's ridiculous, and I liked it.
It is a must watch, yearly watch now for the 4th of July.
It is, and just you need to be. I don't know if you need to have the subtitles on. I think it was helpful because they're very quick. It's very quick witted.
Oh yeah, it's witty banter.
It's very witty and it's smart and it's funny. It is not a kid's movie. There's a lot of language going on.
It's got a great voice cast with Channing Tatum.
There's language, there's nudity, there's violence, there's lots of drinking.
Monsters, robots.
I mean, there's a lot. Yeah, Channing Tatum. Sorry.
Channing Tatum is George Washington. You got Jason Mantzoukas, which you always like.
I
don't know
love
if you know
him.
that guy is, right?
Yes, that guy. I see the picture.
Who's he playing? Samuel Adams?
He's Sam Adams.
It's got Olivia Munn, Judy Greer, Bobby Moynihan, Raul Max Trujillo. Who is that? I know that name. I don't know his face, though. Raul Max Trujillo.
I had to look at him. He plays...
Is that the guy that's from...
Geronimo.
What's his name? Just click on his picture. Wasn't he the one?
I did. It's it right there.
Click on it so I can see him up close.
Babe. I don't know what else you want to see.
Isn't that the guy that's... He's not one of the Indian guys from the show with that we used to watch. It's not on anymore with the Ranger guy.
Probably so. Yes, he was.
Anyway, it's him, Killer Mike, Andy Samberg, Will Forte,
and I'm like, who's Killer Mike?
Simon
what is that? What kind of name is that?
He's a rap guy, but
now I know
he's an activist and all kinds of. So anyway, but yeah, so it's just this crazy fun movie. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It's funny, but you could actually learn a lot of history in this movie because as much as they ridiculously take total left turns on the actual historical aspect, it makes you think about, okay, now what happened there? You know, and the part of I think one of the best parts to me is the end of the film. Is it brings up all the nonsense that's still going on in America and the things that have gone good and bad. And his last line is like, we're going to screw this up. And it's very factual. It's so funny. It's like, this is a movie that has no business existing, and I'm so glad that it does.
Correct. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit dumb. There's, the Boston Tea Party, and I'm just like, that's not what happened. I mean, it's all over the place. There's some weird supernatural elements to it and little fantasy stuff happening, and then you just go with it. I mean, you're like,
all in, man. It's like a mix of stuff like from anime and superhero flicks and history, and it's every element that you would never should see in history, but it's always the things you want to be in history.
Well, I think it's because also too, I mean, our ridiculous education system and the teaching of history is so dumb.
Yeah, there's so many things they take out.
We do not teach. Yeah, we don't. Like I'm thinking back here in Texas, all we learned about was Texas history.
You learn about the Alamo in Texas.
And the Alamo and Battle of San Jacinto.
But it's never about the real stuff. It's about...
But I don't ever remember us really talking about slavery or the presidents or any of that. Maybe we learned their names because there was a poster on the wall.
We did, but we had a separate... No, because you had history and then you had Texas history. It was two separate subjects. But even in the history stuff, everything was
not
always...
remembering any
I think
of that.
we got more out of it than they get now because it's been watered down over time because, I remember learning about slavery and some of this stuff, but it's watered down to They were brought over here, and they had to work in fields, and they weren't telling
And then
us.
Abraham Lincoln set him free.
Yeah, they weren't telling us about the beatings and the rapes and all that stuff.
No.
But our generation also couldn't escape those stories because things like Roots was coming on TV.
Correct.
And, that kind of stuff doesn't come on as much publicly. That was a TV series, a series, not like a theatrical. They can ignore a movie at the theater because they pretend it didn't happen.
It's true. I mean, I don't know. I mean, so at some point, this could be what people consider to be the true history of America, and I'm okay with that.
If this was history, we would have so much more fun learning about it.
And the other thing that I like, in addition to them bringing up the need for history, is the need for science. Because science plays a big part in this movie.
And I love in this movie when they do science, they scream science.
Yeah, she's
like, science!
Because they're like, wow, that's magic. And she's like, no, there's science. And so people are just screaming, science!
And what's really funny is they go completely off the wall of the use of technologies and hashtags and all this crazy stuff that does not exist in this time period. But it's never discussed like somebody developed a technology.
No.
Somebody did this thing, just like there's a moment where there's like hashtag blessed. And it was like, what are you even talking about? But at the same time, like they try to twist some of the ideas, Flintstone ideas is what I like to call them, is when you take an idea and try to make it to the time.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a Fast and Furious reference with neon in the vehicles and stuff. And so they just put neon on horses and stuff. It's just so clever and funny and ridiculous and genius.
But we do deal with some issues of race relations. The slavery thing does come up.
There's an ongoing thing about someone that's a racist.
Yes. And he's like, no, bro, I just think we should all be the same and stay together in our own groups. And they're like, that's being a racist.
What's funny is when he's calling people a racist, but he's not a racist. They're not using the term racist in that term. Using the racist as he runs horses really fast.
Yeah.
And so he keeps thinking, I'm the biggest racist around. And they're like,
so dumb. I like that Geronimo's there trying to explain to them, so you're going to give my land back, right? They're like, yeah, why not? So I mean, it's all brought up. All these things are brought up. So I like that in a way we're dealing with it. It's very tongue-in-cheek and funny how we're dealing with it, but we're dealing with the issues. So in a weird way, it's a positive movie.
It is.
Especially the ending. Where it's still at the end, like, so are you giving us our land back? So are the slaves going to go free? So are we doing that? And it's all these things.
What about women's rights?
Yeah, and they're like, that's why he ends
up the fight started, and they're like, we're going to screw this up.
We're screwing it up.
It's hilarious. It is so good. You really should check it out. But you should watch it today, not any other day, because today is about America.
America.
And that movie is the most American movie I've ever seen, with the only exception maybe Team America World Police.
America. Boop, boop.
Yeah. There's 3 movies that should be watched on today. Team America World Police, Independence Day, and now America, the motion picture. Available now on Netflix.
Oh, man. What a crazy movie. All right.
So diving into the big one this week.
We're going to stick with America.
That's right. Diving into the biggest one this week is the latest, in theory, the final chapter, but might not be the final chapter, of the Purge franchise, this time called
The Forever Purge.
Exactly. So, as usual,
at the sound of the siren.
As usual,
all crime will be legal.
When we talk about any movie as a sequel, we like to kind of dive back into the old ones first.
Yes.
We are big Purge fans in this family, some a little more than the others. And it's interesting. You're pointing at yourself, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I thought you did this.
No, that's.
Which is funny because this is not this is another case of those movies I wouldn't have think you latched onto as much, but you did. And there's been an ongoing argument with each other since the first
it's a little debate.
Discussion. Excuse me, a debate.
Discussions.
Since the original film came out about the Purge itself, because you've always talked about, I'm all for the Purge. I support the Purge. This has been going on since 2013 when the
original movie came out.
Oh, they're all out of order for some reason.
Order of release.
The original Purge came out with Ethan Hawke, and it was more, established more as a horror flick, kind of thriller, violence. So if you don't know about the Purge, tell everybody what the Purge is.
Okay, so the Purge is one day a year where for 12 hours from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., all crime is legal.
Including murder.
Weapons of class 4 and below can be used. And your government officials cannot be killed because they're exempt, because that's rude. But we get there. We'll talk about it.
So with the first movie, I will say that the ideals and the rule system behind the Purge, while I from day one have always said the Purge will not work.
I know you're probably smarter than me.
I didn't say I would be out there, not out there purging. I just said I don't think the Purge would, because I got some stuff to handle.
Me?
But
would you?
Some of it's inside the house.
No, you can't. We got to be unified to protect the homestead.
But no, I don't know if I'd be out purging. But there are some things. But look, the first film was a smaller little film. Took place in one house.
Correct.
One family dealing with one person.
Yeah, and it was a good, like, kind of a thrilling slasher-ish type thing, but more of that mob mentality of like, all these people are going to come in and kill us. What do we do?
It also takes away the idea that you normally have is like, okay, all this crap's going on. Where are the police? It takes that element completely out because everything they're doing is okay.
Yeah, and I like too that it's just the first movie, like you said, it's a closed thing, and it's the whole idea that you should be safe in your home.
Yeah.
The idea is you should be, especially these particular people, because the guy himself sells the security system. Their house,
which makes no sense to why there's like a whole group of people that are irritated and mad because they made a lot of money selling the security system. But I'm like, you bought them.
I'm just telling you that's how people work.
But now this is probably the only one in the series that also doesn't delve heavily into political and social issues. It has a little bit to it.
It's brought up because of the one person they're trying to kill.
Right. But I mean, it's not. It's more going for, hey, this is a new kind of thriller horror type thing. Where the movies after that shift more into an action kind of vibe.
Yeah. But
deal more like the Saw franchise.
Here it's brought up the idea that these people are like, we're peace-loving, high-class Americans like you. We just want to kill this useless, homeless black man. Yeah. Give it to us. Let's go.
Yeah. So the movie obviously was a major success.
Very good.
Another success for Blumhouse, which had already come off super successes with
at this point in time,
what is the name of that movie? That was the biggest one they had. I just went blank. Paranormal Activities.
There you go.
So I got this one out. So of course, successful when you make a movie like this, especially in the horror genre, you're going to get another one. And I remember us leaving this, and I remember telling you the benefit to this kind of story is you could tell a Purge story anywhere. Every movie with a completely different cast, completely different city, state, whatever, and you could do these forever.
Yes.
And thankfully, they decided to keep going.
Yep.
So then we got
Purge, Anarchy.
The Purge, Anarchy, which, in fact, took on a whole new group of people, whole different night, whole different scenario. But there is a minor connection outside of the Purge that keeps it grounded with the other film. This time around, it took it into, again, more of the action thing with a little creepy elements to it. Mm-hmm. But I think it also dived heavier into the other side of the Purge. The first one was really more about them being forced into the Purge and didn't really want to be a part of it. This one deals with people that don't want to be a part of it, somebody else that wants to be a part of it for something that happened in non-Purge time, and then all the other little social issues.
There's some social issues,
of race and
race relations,
class
and class,
and everything like that.
And then this brings up what you had said at the beginning of the first one, before this movie even came out. After the first one, you're like, well, what someone would do is then they'd plan a revenge killing the whole year, getting ready, getting armed, doing all that. And then this movie comes out, and that's what this guy's done. He's armored his car. He stocked up his weapons. He has a plan of who he's going to go purge because something happened to him.
Yeah. And it's
not even Purge related.
This also steps the game up because it brings in the always awesome Frank Grillo, who doesn't get enough leading man status.
I like him.
Frank Grillo. So I think he's probably kind of a jerk in real life.
You think?
I think he is from some of the scenes, but I don't even care because he's such a.
He's cool. He's like that everyman man, like that man's man.
Yeah, he's like Steven Dorff. Like he's just badass all the time.
And he's always got like that.
Yeah, he also trains in MMA and stuff, and he just
seems cool.
He
seems so cool.
I'll watch
You're
anything.
so cool.
I still wish he had been the Punisher instead of Crossbones.
And
that's
then
okay.
The thing that you see in this is people have organized into large groups to go out and hunt specific people. So then that brings up a whole new mentality, and then people planning traps and things, and it's interesting.
Now, was it in this one or the next one when then other people in the world started coming here to go? That was in this one as well, wasn't it?
This one.
Because it's just a U.S. thing.
It was that
just so
one.
you know.
Yeah.
And there's a thing where it evolves where then it has like the what they call them, the vacationers or the something purgers. I don't remember what they call, but they were basically saying,
this one.
Are you sure it's that one?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it's this one.
Is it that one?
But anyway, it doesn't really
With
matter.
the
Right?
Russians?
It's a very subtle section because it's just like in a news story.
It's this guy. Because he's like, we love you, America.
No, but remember, it's just that news story at first. This one actually has them. We don't see them in this one. It's like a news story where they're talking about people from other countries
purging.
Are coming into the country so they can be here during the purge to purge and kill people.
And see, and then that was where I was thinking it should be U.S. only. Like, you shouldn't be allowed to do that. But then when do you close the borders and not let people come in?
People could come in a month in advance and be chilling, and you never know they were here for that.
Yeah.
So anyway, after this one, we moved into a whole different direction, at least in focus with the next chapter, The Purge Election Year.
Correct.
Which is a direct follow-up to the last one as Frank Grillo returns.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first one in the film that kind of keeps a similar story going. It is a different story. And you can tell from the title, Election Year, we're changing some rules of the Purge.
Yeah. Now, this does happen years later from the others.
Yeah, it jumps way
So
ahead.
we'll get, anyway, this is the year 2040. Just so you know.
And we're dealing with, obviously, they changed rules of the Purge. Where politicians are no longer thing because it's an election year. So
correct. They want to take out the competition.
Pretty much.
But you know what? Didn't that kind of happen anyway? Supposedly.
In theory.
Supposedly.
All these things are kind of
where
happening.
People had hits out on other people.
But then you also get to deal with some even stupid purge elements of somebody like, there's an element of like a girl that's just an asshole who's trying to shoplift and gets caught, but because they kick her out, her and her friends decide to come back to the shop to kill the people.
She's like, I want my beef candy bar. I'm like, really?
It's like the most ridiculous mentality, but the crap that would happen.
It is the crap that would happen. And you could tell she was crazy and unstable because she's like, I already took care of my moms and dads. I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really?
I like that you're doing the super racist.
That's what she did.
I know. But
I'm reenacting.
I know, but we didn't mention her that, and now you've pretty much told everybody because you're being super racist.
I'm not being super racist. I'm sharing.
I'm sorry. It's
but
really bad.
I'm just telling you that at this point is when I become concerned about what would actually happen.
She did. I give her credit. It took 3 movies to get her to start being concerned. But when she started seeing people killing their own parents, coming back over basic, simple shoplifting things.
And you know what, too? Now it makes me more concerned after this whole year where we were in isolation because of the pandemic. And you saw the number of teen and child suicide rise because of the isolation. If this was a real thing, oh my gosh, the amount of like teenage crime I think would skyrocket. And we know teenagers are dumb. They don't plan. They just get angry and they'll go kill somebody.
And that's actually loosely touched on the very first movie because the girl and her boyfriend, because they can't be together, so he decides, even though she's not really a part of it, he decides, he's going to purge her dad, just so they can be together. And then she's like, wait, no, I don't want that, but it's too late at that point of actions that are happening.
Yeah.
And even the moving past this one before we get into the other one, there was also 2 seasons of a TV series, and in that element of the TV series, which I think is a better platform for this because it lets it stretch it out, and they deal with building up to the purge, and then at the purge, and so you see
that was
people's personal problems coming into where there was an extramarital affair, and you find out these people are there, and this guy's going to kill the husband because he wants to be with the lady, and she's like, I don't want that, and there's a lot of elements, and then you deal with the element in the second season and the first season of when the purge ends. If you're mid-crime,
was your foot inside the door or outside the door?
Yeah, it's the whole bank robbery story in season 2, I believe.
And they have the cameras, and they're zooming in and zooming out, and I'm like, oh my god!
And they're rushing it because it's like they're rushing because they got to get out the door of the building before the purge is over. Because once they're outside the door, they haven't committed a crime because they did it while they were during purge time. And so, like, one leg's in, one leg's out. So this person committed a crime, but none of the other people did. And so it becomes a very interesting thing. So once we got past these movies, we decided they took us all the way back.
To the beginning.
With the first purge.
Yes.
This time letting us all know how the purge first started, who started it, what happened, why. And to my surprise at this time, they brought in Marissa Tomei.
Yeah.
Who
and we're like,
did not
what?
expect her in this kind of movie, which I know made her excited because you're a fan.
Yes.
So
okay. So this is obviously an alternate reality. This takes place in the year 2017. Yes. Okay. So it already happened.
Yes.
So let's imagine it already happened. It starts off as a social experiment, which is always a little scary when they do that. But it starts off as a social experiment in one of the lowest income housing project type areas in Staten Island to see what would happen if, technically, let's just say it, if angry black people were given freedom to commit any crime they wanted, what would happen? That's really what they're doing.
And they paid them to join in.
Yeah. Well, of course they're going to do it because they need the money to survive.
Yeah.
But then this totally brings in the aspect, which we see later on through all the movies, where they bring in groups of people to come kill these poor innocent black people who are trying to just hide out in their houses. So you're not safe
people
anywhere.
that aren't actually purging people, and there's some trickery, and then people involved, and it's there's an ongoing thing that's touched in the new one we'll discuss, where the people that started it are always like the rich white people that have all the control, not the people that are actually needing to deal with this and would it work. It's the other people pulling the strings that are always not affected.
Yeah. And when we get a real look at the whole white supremacy thing taking shape, and it kind of happens in the others, but you see it at the beginning.
Yeah.
So this is the year 2017. The first one happens in the year 2022, then 2023, then we're in the year 2040. So just so you know, we're in an alternate future. Guys, this doesn't seem too far from our reality.
What's really cool about season 2 of the show, which is funny because she never watched season 1, and you don't have to. Season 1 and season 2, two completely separate stories.
I really loved season 2.
They did exactly what you could have done with this. You could have done every season
a different person.
It got canceled after the second season or ended or whatever. But there's a great sequence that I convinced her to watch season 2 after seeing the opening scene of the season premiere, and it's this acting audition that you don't know where it's going. And then you realize they're auditioning for the voice of the Purge.
The Purge lady.
The lady that does this. This is now commencing of the Purge, blah, blah, blah. And the lady's on stage, the actor,
and she's like, what's my motivation?
And then when she starts doing it, you're like, oh my God, they're doing
because this. And I think that's the real lady that recorded it.
I'm thinking
because she's this cute little lady, and she's like all bubbly. And she's like, okay, well, what's my vote? And then she's like, at the sound of the siren, the annual purge will commence. And she's like, what's a purge?
I remember I was watching this thing, and I was like,
it's so good. I have to share that video.
Because there's a big setup of you don't know what they're auditioning for, what's about to happen. You're waiting for somebody to die or some craziness to happen, and because you don't know when this scene takes place. And then when she finally gets her motivation, is she starts reading the script, and you're like, oh my God, it takes place even before the first Purge sequence.
They're prepping
and then it kind of jumps ahead. And I'm like, dude, I showed her that scene before you even started watching the show.
And I'm like, I'm in.
You have to check this out, watch. And she's like, I don't really want to care about watching this right now. Just watch it, dear, watch it. And she watches, she's like, that's the Purge lady.
Yeah, I mean, and season 2 is really good because it digs into even before the first one, like building the security systems and how are we monitoring it, setting up the cameras all over the country. And there's a mass network of the Purge office that monitors the crime and what's crime, so it's big. Yeah. So if you really want to dive deep into it, watch season 2.
So we're all that. You have 2 seasons of the show, 4 movies, and it's not done yet. Now we're in the latest chapter of the film series, The Forever Purge.
Right. So
which is also been touted as the final film in the series, but the creator of the series himself, which he said that throughout making the film, the discussion with the director, the way the film ends, everything was meant to be the end of his vision. But he said he came up with another idea about 2 months ago that if it does well enough, if it's people want it, that maybe they could make another one. Mm-hmm. Which I'm all for making another one. Yeah. But if they don't, this new one does wrap it up perfectly to where society goes and America goes with this.
I mean, okay, so what you need to just know timeline-wise, remember in Purge election year, we were trying to protect the life of Senator Rowe. She was running for president, and she said, if I become president, I'm going to stop the Purge.
Yes.
So she stopped the Purge.
Which it took me a minute, because I had forgot she stopped. Because we don't see her stop the Purge.
We don't see it. You just have to remember.
It's the assumption that she got elected.
She won. She got elected.
Because I don't even think they show her get elected.
They don't. You just know.
You just know because of how it ends that she's elected.
Correct. So she gets elected. This movie starts. She's filled her 2 terms. So it's 8 years later.
So she's not even there anymore.
And now at the beginning of the movie, you just hear it kind of in a news story that the new founding fathers have now regained control of the presidency again.
And they're bringing the Purge back.
Purge back.
And most people are not happy about it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because now there seems to be a different twist to who's interested in the purge now.
And why.
And it's scary relatable to today's climate.
Yeah.
Like it's no longer a fun
Slasher.
horror thriller, this could never happen mentality. Because after the last, 4 or 5 years at this point, no matter what your political beliefs are, you can't deny the fact of, especially here in Texas, and what makes it even creepier because it takes place in Texas, and everything in this movie could happen tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all are aware of our race relation issues. It's always been there. I think it's just now we see it and we know.
But Will Smith had the
it.
perfect statement about that. He goes, race issues haven't gone up because they're just more visible because of social media.
There you go.
So, but yeah, so this new one, a lot of it takes place on a ranch. You're dealing with immigrants. You're dealing with Texas. You're dealing with the purge. You're dealing with
your families, people.
White supremacists. But it's all kind of interesting because this one might be the most, I don't want to say political, but most heavy influenced by real world situations and current climate than any of the films today.
Yeah.
Because it's got a heavy deal dealing with immigration, but not in the way you think. It's not dealing it with like, you should be let them come over, blah, 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 blah. You see illegals come over, it jumps ahead, you see kind of things. But there's such a brilliant twist of what it does that we were probably the only people in there doing it. We were like, ha ha,
yeah,
shaking our head. And there's a couple of moments and we make comments. Nobody else in the movie is even reacting.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so the story here is we have a family. It's a ranch family, and some of their best employees are some immigrant workers from Mexico, but they're like the best cowboys they have on the ranch, and the cool.
And of course, there's jealousy.
Yeah, there's like, oh, I could do that. Well, why do you have that and I don't? It's that whole thing.
The irony of the whole thing, which I thought was funny without exposing anything, was the people that were the most angry with the ranch owners were not even the immigrants, which was that was such an interesting twist.
I think the misconception too about people who immigrate to the U.S., whether it's legal or illegal, I mean, they're not coming here to steal your job. They're coming here to work.
Yeah.
And a lot of the work they do are things that we would not want to do.
Yeah, all the jobs that 90% of the jobs that people complain about, that, oh, the immigrants are taking our jobs, are the same jobs that none of those people would do.
It's cleaning,
not a single one of them.
Cleaning, washing dishes, working on the line. These
Cooking.
People cook. Yeah, these people taking care of horses and mucking up the stalls. I mean, who's gonna want? I mean, if you're a rancher, yes.
Yeah, I get that.
But who's gonna be like put out a job description? I need someone to come clean out all the horse stalls every day. I'm not gonna do it.
And the people you always hear argue about it and talk about it are people that would never do any of those jobs.
I know.
Because they also, I guarantee, look at people that do those jobs as beneath them anyway.
Correct.
No matter what their race
Correct.
are. They're the people that, would throw trash on the ground despite somebody over there sweeping it, no matter what color they are.
Yeah, and so I like that you brought up the point. It wasn't the immigrant workers that were angry. They were happy to have the job. That's the thing. Most of these people are so happy.
That catalyst sets you down a path of making you look at, makes the characters kind of look at where their classes are, who really cares about what. And there's even, it's interesting is because it being Texas, not only is it probably the place that would most likely happen, because now that, if you don't know, if you're watching this and you're not in Texas, we have a trash governor who's decided that as of September 1st, you don't need any kind of training or licenses to carry a gun publicly. So we are going to be full on the Wild West again starting in September.
It's a little bit scary.
And we have open sword carry already.
Yes.
That's awesome, though. But it's interesting because being Texas, you're on the border of Mexico. You have Native American lands. Mm-hmm. And so in this movie, you have the white people, you have the Mexican people, and you have the Native American people.
Correct.
And they're all having to kind of work together or fight against each other.
And it's interesting you brought up the class thing. The class thing that gets brought up is amongst the white people. It's not everybody. We already know as a minority, we're going to get treated, not you are going to treat us, but we're going to maybe get treated or viewed as a lower group. But it's interesting. The class thing was brought up between the rich and the not rich white people.
Yeah, why do you have everything while we do all the work?
Correct. And then the other group of white people are your white supremacist people because they're always there.
Yeah, and so that's what shifts this direction of the film is, and this isn't really a spoiler, the reason it's called The Forever Purge is because this movie finally takes the purge to a point where these people, what I've been saying since 2013, where these people are going to say, we are not stopping when the siren stops. This is the Forever Purge. It's going to keep going because we are going to purge this land of the people that don't belong here, which is ironic because the people that want to do that are not the people that are even from here.
It's the Native Americans and the Mexicans. Come on.
All the white people, the white power and all that stuff.
And it's so bizarre.
They're all from Europe. They're not even from the United States.
It's so bizarre. Watching this movie, there's this group, the white supremacist people are going through and they're like, we're here to cleanse America. Only natural born Americans should be allowed. And like, I'm a natural born American. So what are you talking about?
But you have a tainted bloodline.
I guess so. I don't know.
90% of those hardcore white supremacist, racist, keep America pure people are these hardcore Christian religious beings, which means they're worshiping Jesus and God, who is from another country, and he's not even a white person.
No.
But they will argue that point because they believe Jesus is white.
Jesus was a brown Arab man.
White people are stupid.
But I mean, and you know what? That I was told you that earlier today. I was thinking about this on the way home from church. The purge election year brings up that whole mentality of now this is part of my Christianity. If I want to serve God, I need to purge and get the sin out.
Yeah,
and
they
that's
do a whole
what
thing
would
where
happen.
They're like, the killing somebody is not murder in the purge. It's you're taking
get the sin out,
the evil out of your own body into a sinner.
Yeah.
So that when you kill, like if I was to kill her,
you're not killing me. Thank you.
If I was to kill her, I have now purified myself because I got the
that's
evil
what God
out.
wants you to do. And I was telling you today, because with that, remembering that from that movie, and now this new movie, that would totally become the mentality of your super, I don't want to call them the right-wing Republicans, but your weirdo, crazy Christians that are all about Jesus. And in the name of Jesus, we're going to do this. That's who would follow this crap.
And on the flip side,
it's kind of scary.
And on the flip side, the movie is just awesome.
I mean, because that's the part that gets me is the religious part.
I think one of my favorite parts about this is one of my favorite in the franchise.
This movie's really good.
I like the first one still probably the best, just because it was new, it was different at its time.
And you like the first creepy guy that shows up.
I do with the mask.
Ding dong.
His mask and his real face kind of match.
Yeah.
But I think if I was to pick a franchise, The Forever Purge is my favorite. If I was to go by the film's histories and whatever, the original is my favorite because of when it came out, it was new, it was different, you didn't know what to expect. Mm-hmm. This new one, not only is it, like I said, very topical, one of my favorite aspects of the movie is a lot of the movie takes place during the day.
Yeah.
So you get to see more stuff, you can...
because they don't stop at 7 a.m. They kept going.
Yeah, and the fact that it keeps going, it's a little. There's also an element of police showing up. It's like, don't you know the purge is over as it starts slowly getting out of control? And there's a very subtle scene that I'm not going to tell you of when you know that the purge has not stopped like it should.
Yes, and I was like,
yeah, we both reacted, and I don't know how many other people.
And nobody said anything, and I'm like,
it's a moment to where you'd be like, holy crap, because But it's such a genius shot. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple of those in the movie. And as well as, I so wish I could talk about how this movie ends because it's ironic to today and everything that's gone on and a slap in the face.
I told you that's what's going to happen.
But the last shot of the entire movie is pure genius. It's crazy. It's got multiple layers of meaning of not only the purge stuff, which is fictional, so you can kind of ignore it. But it gives the perfect example of America today and where America could be going and where some of it already is and things like this. And then seeing the rest of the world not affected by our nonsense.
Correct. Probably looking at us like we're crazy, which is what they did. I'm
Yeah.
sure all last year after the different riots and the
Of
shootings.
course they did,
and-
because I have, a very close friend in Singapore. He was concerned.
they
for
were like,
us.
"Are you okay?"
Yeah, he would send
Yeah.
me messages and like, how's it? Every time something happened bad, he'd message, "Are you okay? Is everything good? Okay?" So we're
I mean,
fine. We're nowhere
it's
near
sad.
such and
It's
such.
very
and,
sad, but
I would tell him we're going to so and so place. He would just be careful out there, man. Because the assumption is not the good things that some of the people here think. It's that place isn't safe.
well, and it's funny because like even within my work group, like one of our ladies works in Colorado, and she thinks Texas is wild, wild west. Like
Oh,
she's
Most people that are not in the
she's
South
like,
think
yeah,
it is.
I don't want to go to Texas. Y'all are crazy.
Oh, I'm one of
Because
a very famous
it is.
comic book artist that I'm a fan of, that I tell you stories about all the time. But he posted after our governor had passed a few of the crazy things that he's been passing lately. He goes, just FYI to everybody, if you're in Texas, I will never come to a convention in Texas. So
They don't
you're
feel
going to have to
safe.
come to me.
Yeah, they don't.
And
feel
I
safe
responded,
anymore.
I said, dude, I've grown up in Texas, and I wouldn't tell you to come here either.
I mean, I love it. I love
it here.
Texas, but
I'm not anti-Texas. I just
now I'm like, is there a safer place for us
our
to
trash,
live?
our trash governor just.
It's crazy. I'm really concerned about the whole gun thing.
We just got to get through next year, get him out of office, and then hopefully somebody with a brain will come in and fix
Anyways,
things.
y'all, the Forever Purge is amazing. It's good. You need to watch it.
You do have to be a
Deal
fan
with
of the
it.
Purge franchise.
You do.
And yes, you need to see the other Purge movies, because even though they're all their own independent thing for the most part, they all play into something different. So like in this movie, if you walked into it by yourself, it almost would feel like this is the first Purge ever. Why is everybody so crazy?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you
But
don't know,
you need to understand the rules of the Purge to understand why this is jacked
I
up.
would actually say normally you could ditch the first movie if you wanted to, just to see the new one and watch these two.
Yeah.
But then there's a character element that comes from this that you wouldn't understand, but they don't really harken back to it, so you could technically still.
And you
if
can
you-
watch them in timeline order even too. If you want to
Yeah.
watch the first Purge first,
Yeah, but at the same
But,
time,
I
if you're going
mean,
to watch any, take the time to watch it, watch all
watch
of
them
them.
all up.
You don't have to watch the TV series to watch this. You can just watch the 4 movies and then move into the new one.
Yeah.
And it is only in theaters. It's not going to be on demand.
And our theater was pretty full. There were people there. And I liked that a lot of the people that would probably be affected by this were represented
Yes,
in our
it was
theater.
a very, very
I was gonna ask, did you
immigrant theater.
Did you feel awkward? Do you ever feel awkward in these movies?
I don't,
as the
because
white
I
guy?
grew up going to movies like Menace to Society, and I felt unsafe when I went and saw Menace to Society.
That's
because-
how I felt when I went to go see the movie. What's the one with the Janet Jackson
Poetic
and
Justice?
Whitney? No,
Oh,
Whoopi Goldberg, and the one about the women and the. What is that movie?
I don't know the name of the movie.
The black girls, whatever.
Is that the one about pregnancy and stuff?
Yes.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name.
But man, because I was
Yeah, like when I went and saw Menace to Society
it's
as
like
a
I was the
teenager,
only one there.
I think
Like me.
no, I had to be older. I might have been out of high school when that came out. But me and Danny went to see it.
Yeah, y'all are
and-
not the demographic.
And
I would think.
although I was not proud to say I was in that world a little bit, Danny's very much was not.
Yeah.
But we went to see this movie, and I'll never forget. It was a very dark audience.
Mm-hmm.
It was predominantly African American. If you don't know Menace to Society, the entire movie is about gang culture and killing and this kind of thing. But I'll never forget coming out of the theater. I love the movie. I was coming out of the theater, and we're in a group. You know, when you come out of the hall in the little hallway to get out of the theater, it's packed with people, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, both of us very much were standing out in the group.
Yeah.
And I just remember hearing somebody in the back is like, man, this movie makes me want to kill some white people. And I'm like,
Let's go now.
Danny, we got to keep moving because I'm going to be that white people. He's
Yeah.
Hispanic, but he looks white. He's half. So,
He's like,
and then I heard somebody else
Okay.
saying things like, screw these white people. And which didn't understand because there's nothing with white people in that movie. But I guess the hype of the killing element, the gang nature, there's some Asian people killed in the movie. But anyway, that was the only time I've ever been to a movie where I wasn't sure I was making it to the car.
Yeah.
But it didn't let it deter me. I got a
This
fist
one-
fight at the Replacement Killers. But
This movie made me feel better about me.
Did
Because
it?
I was like, yeah, this is what's gonna happen. I'll be all right. Y'all won't.
I'll tell you this without spoiling it. It does play a what if element. Like,
Yeah.
what if the U.S. became a third world country?
I think though too, some people are going to come out and be like, oh, they're pushing a political agenda. They're all about immigration and trying to get the wall knocked down.
I've already read reviews about this.
Okay, so those are the people that I concern.
They're for white people.
Yeah, those are the people I'm concerned about. But I want to tell you, there's one moment where I actually got a little teary-eyed when the guy's like, why are you still here about America? It's like, we're from Mexico. Why are you still here? America. She's like, because when you go to America, it's like you see the whole world. Because there's Mexicans, there's Africans, there's people from
everybody's
India.
here.
It's like everyone's here. This is the whole world in America. So if you could please put yourself in the mindset of these immigrant people who are trying to escape gang violence, government corruption, poverty, trying to get here to work in these menial jobs that you don't want. To them, this is the dream. America is for everyone. And then you have these crazy white supremacist
used to be the
people.
whole thing that American people fought for was like, well, the reason people come here because it's the American dream. And it's funny, Tom McDonald, the rap guy, I don't agree with a lot of stuff, his politics, a lot of things he says, but in one of his new songs, he actually says, America has gotten people refer to America as being very racist now. So why would you want to come here? Now he's not.
That's like, go to Canada at this point.
Yeah, it's like, and it's interesting too. This film does take an element of the difference between America's open doors to help other people and other people's open doors to help people in the situation.
Yes.
And it even plays into things like camps for children. It plays into border situations.
The wall.
The
wall is a joke.
Yeah, this whole thing. And if you're an American and you think a wall is going to help immigration,
y'all done.
You're a dumbass.
Anyways, let me just quote Clueless. Because she's like, let me remind you, the Statue of Liberty does not say RSVP. It doesn't. It says, bring me your poor.
And you know what's even funny about the Statue of Liberty? It's from France. It's not a U.S. thing.
You got to watch Forever Purge. Now, the good news about this is we're going to have a whole show dedicated just to the Purge series. There's so much.
Have more deep conversation about what we're talking about now.
Y'all, immigration, obviously, white supremacy, but we got to talk about health insurance, taxes, the government, police.
We're going to plan it. It won't be a live show.
How do you recover from it? No, we're going to have to record it. We're going to have special guests. It's going to be a big panel discussion. It will be spoiler heavy because we got to be able to talk about it. So if you don't care about the franchise and just want to hear the discussion, it'll be interesting. Come on.
But if you want to, if you've seen the films,
all of them,
and want to be in on the discussion with us, shoot me an email, a message, whatever. Yeah, call us if we know you. Because we want to seriously record a Purge political special, not to discuss people's views of politics and play one side or the other. We want to discuss the things that this says, how it affects real life now, how it could really happen, what people's thoughts are on immigration and stuff. If I have somebody that comes on that's a hardcore Trump supporter, says build that freaking wall, then we will discuss it.
Let's talk about it.
I don't fight with people. I will discuss things with people. If we fight with me, then I'll delete you off because I'm not going to fight with you.
One of the things that you brought up early on was the insurance thing, and that shows up in the third movie, like Purge insurance.
Yeah.
And then the security systems, like that's a money-making business. And then what do you do with the bodies, which comes up in that movie too? Like there's a truck like body collection, beep, beep, body collection. And I'm like, what do you do with that?
And they do a lot of that in the TV series.
Yeah, like, there's so many things. Like, how do you recover the next day? There's no way in one day you can get all this cleaned up.
This is a franchise that on the surface are just fun, violent, horror action flicks. But there's so much under the surface that you could discuss hours and hours and hours.
Well, we're going to, because
I honestly believe that the Forever Purge is probably the strongest one of the bunch in relation to topical comments and things that you can see happening right now in our country, and they're going to keep happening because nobody's going to change it because there's too much money involved.
I wonder if we'd also see like a jacking up the food supply, like what happened in the pandemic.
Of course.
If all these people are dead and all your Do we know if there's people purging animals? Like, are there people like, I'm going to get this? I'm going to go
because
kill all his cattle because I'm angry.
The reason we have shortages of stuff during pandemics or anything else is because of panic. People are stupid. They go, oh no, we're going to be locked up. Let's buy all of the toilet paper. They have created
toilet paper and gas, which you can't go anywhere. So why are you buying all this gas?
When they had the gas
in
shortage,
Walmart bags.
When they had the gas shortage, remember everybody was lining up, filling up every car and boat and everything else. And I'm like,
we didn't. We're just
we're not out of
sorry.
gas because there's a gas shortage. We're out of gas because you all ran out and hoarded gas.
Mm-hmm.
And through none of these things, never once did we go run out of toilet paper.
No.
Never once. Matter of fact, we were giving toilet paper to other people.
Yeah.
Why? Because even before the pandemic, we buy what our house needs. We keep stocking up when we start to run low.
A little extra.
And we move on.
That's it.
And guess what? If I ran out of toilet paper, in most houses, the toilet is next to the shower that has soap and water, and you can clean your butt. You don't need toilet paper.
You want me to wash my butt?
Like, how will I ever clean my butt without toilet paper? I'm like, there's soap and water and a rag.
Figure it out.
I'm like that guy on
oh, yes. He's such
TikTok
a cute
guy.
little kid.
He is. He's hilarious. Anyway,
okay.
The Forever Purge is in theaters now, and you thought we got into a crazy, deep, tear-filled discussion today. Wait till we actually put this. Hopefully, we can put it together.
I'm telling you, in the middle of a movie, people getting killed, I got really emotional and teary-eyed because that is so the American dream for these people who come here, and then to be treated like crap. They don't care. They're still going to stay here because they're so grateful to just be here and not be killed by a cartel or something. I mean, it's a big deal. Okay, sorry, moving on.
And then the other thing is we have we've had a few that we haven't talked about. We actually have a theater experience story. We haven't talked about the theater experience in quite some time.
What's your theater experience?
You were in LA with me.
Guys.
We were sold tickets to seats that didn't exist. So we pre-bought our tickets, and I'm sure it was something to do with a hiccup in the app. But we bought tickets for the Forever Purge, right? We're A-list members for AMC. And so we bought our tickets. This was not a screening situation. So we get there on time. We go in. We got some beverages and whatever. We go to have a seat, and then we're like,
this row does not exist.
There's people sitting on our seats.
Well, no, because they were in their row.
Well, no, but we first see them. We're like, we're going to have to deal with this. And then we start realizing, wait a minute, this thing ends at like 17 or 18. And our seats were like 25, 26. So then we're standing there, and we see one of our friends that we didn't even know was there. So she goes and sits down. I go to talk to him about it.
And then did you see my message? Like the people in our seats were her kids. So I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I never looked at them, and I didn't realize that's what you were saying.
Oh,
but I never even looked at your messages until after the movie. I saw them.
Okay.
So I go up there and talk to them. They're like, oh, what? That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, you and me both, sister. I agree. So she goes, well, the movie now is about to start. It hadn't started. It's still in trailers. She goes, well, at this point, if you want to just sit down, you can. But I looked at the seating thing, and all the seats that we were trying to sit in were taken by our friend and stuff. But nobody was there. People were either not showing up or super late.
They were late. People were walking in late.
But I think more people are doing that because every theater is you pick your seat, so you assume
it's assigned seating, so you can just walk in.
There. Yeah. And so we sat down, stayed with our friends. But I went back out and I said, look, if these people show up late, is there any way we can go ahead and get seats? And we'll be those people. So she went and secured 2 seats for us. So I sat back down. I told her, and sure as crap, all the family were sitting. So we had to be those people. So I told the guy, I don't know if you heard me. I told the guy, I said, I'm sorry, we're sitting with a friend. They sold us seats that don't exist, but they just gave me some other ones. He's like laughing. And I don't think he even understood. But
well, and I feel like that happened the other day when we went to go see Fast and Furious with those people in front of us too. So there's something glitchy happening.
Well, I don't know if that happened or if those people just didn't know what they were supposed to be saying.
I don't know, but anyways, who knows? So that was
our
interesting.
first fun theater experience, really, since we've been back in the theaters.
And I'm feeling like I want to wear my mask in the theater again because there's so many people. Like they're not blocking seats anymore. Yeah. So I think I'm going to keep wearing my mask at the theater. There's just too many people.
Business. I think you're just paranoid now.
I am. Well, but because now there's the Delta strain or whatever. And some news reports say.
Did you talk to your parents about this?
No,
because this sounds like a discussion with your parents.
Well, no. Some news reports are saying that our vaccine will protect against it, and some are saying it's not. So I don't even know.
Well,
it's just two people.
Here's the thing I look at is the vaccine doesn't keep you from getting it; it just makes you recover. So at this point, if I get it, if it doesn't require a mask, I'm not worried about it. If it requires a mask, I will wear it. If I get it. Cross the fingers and hope for the best because
we got it before.
So,
We're still live
And there's
and
a couple of
kicking.
places
Thank
I go
you,
to that
Jesus.
still require masks. So I
Yeah,
slap my
that's
mask on, I go inside and do exactly what they tell me to do.
Yeah.
It's not an American situation. It's a common sense, be nice to other people
No,
thing.
this is America.
So if you're one of those people too, like, I shouldn't have to wear a mask because it's my freedom. Rules have nothing to do with your freedom. You have to wear shoes in Walmart because they said it has nothing to do with your American freedoms.
Yeah.
American freedoms in laws don't mean you don't have rules.
I don't want
All right,
rules.
so moving on.
I don't like rules.
What contest we got?
Okay, so are you ready?
Sure.
Are you going to tell? Oh.
I'll tell them, Miss Sister. We got some fun ones. Not Funyuns, some fun ones. So this week we got a couple of nins. One of them getting ready for the new Space Jam, a new legacy with LeBron James coming up in a couple of weeks. We have a 4K copy or copies of the original Space Jam with Michael Jordan, which you've never seen.
And Bugs Bunny.
And Bugs Bunny, so we're going to have to talk about that.
Yeah, I've not seen it yet.
I still have a couple of copies left of Undercover Punch and Gun that they sent me, so I kept keeping that contest going for about probably a week longer.
Okay.
Then we still have some copies of the Paper Tigers.
So good.
They give me the martial arts ones. They tend to give me a lot of them, so I tend to keep that contest running for a while longer, just until I'm out of them. Sometimes people take a long time to enter because they're maybe not that interested in the movie, and then sometimes I get people that
It's a good movie.
they'd be like, "Why not? I want
So
free
cute.
things." And then if people don't take them up, they go to conventions and they get
Yeah,
giveaways.
we give them away there.
We also still have one copy left of Godzilla vs. Kong that I held on to, so I'm going to extend it out a little bit longer to get that one done. We have 4K copies of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original with the late, great Gene Wilder.
Creepy
So,
movie.
love this movie, but it is a little creepy. And we have Your Honor, the complete series, mini-series we talked about on the show. It's a great little show.
Okay, cool.
And in theory, if it hits this week like it's supposed to, I may have 2 or 3 new contests hitting this week alone for some cool stuff.
Okay.
Really cool stuff.
Are you going to tell us what's coming?
I am.
To the dibs?
So also, this week on the Blu-ray and the DVD, it's not a huge week, but there is a documentary kind of thing coming out.
I'm interested.
I think it was on network TV,
Probably.
but I guess it's getting released on Blu-ray, DVD,
I'm
whatever.
excited.
But it's a street gang, how we got to Sesame Street, which when you see the title, you think it's going to be about street gangs. So it's a little thrown off of the title. But then we also do called Equal Standard coming out that's got Ice-T and I think Gabrielle Union. No. I don't know who these other people are. Never mind. It's Ice-T and some other people. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which I need to revisit.
Oh, wow.
I love that movie. Have you ever seen it?
I did not enjoy it. I thought it was too weird with all
Chaotic.
the... Yeah.
Oh, it's an Edgar Wright movie. I really dig that movie.
I'll try again.
But it's getting the 4K release. Space Jam that we're
to
giving
watch,
away.
yeah.
4K is coming out this week. And I'm super excited. Howard the Duck is getting a 4K release. It is a movie that doesn't get enough credit because it's a trash
silly.
movie. Don't get me wrong.
It's silly.
But do you know who wrote that movie?
No.
George Lucas wrote that movie.
Really?
Yes, George Lucas wrote
It's
that
a silly mess.
movie. It is a
movie.
ridiculously massive movie, but it is a Marvel comic movie because Howard the Duck is a Marvel character
Yep.
who also shows up in Guardians of the
shows up.
Galaxy, and he does Quack Fu in this movie. So that's the reason. Also, which we're going to talk about next week because you haven't seen them, so we may have to watch them tonight
What's that?
before we start our Marvel marathon. I know you want to watch Independence Day,
Yeah.
but we got other stuff we got to watch too. But Paramount Presents has 2 new movies hitting their line, which we've shown in here before, which are the boxes that open up in the posters
Yes,
and all that
yes.
stuff. This time it's 48 Hours and another 48 Hours, which Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy, buddy comedy action flicks. Those are coming out. Is there anything else? Defending Jacob, which was a miniseries. I'll be talking about that next week. I think that's going to be the main ones. Looks like it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the main stuff.
All right. Then we have some exciting things happening at the theater. Finally.
Finally.
We're going to get to see Black Widow, the next entry in the Marvel universe.
And if things go well, I'll have seen it twice by the time we do the show.
So we will be
for
talking
those of
about
you
that.
going into this, if you are trying to figure out where this takes place, I can tell you right off the bat, it takes place after Civil War.
Yes.
So if you want to watch things leading up to it, because if you know how Endgame ends, you know that this movie doesn't make a lot of sense in its existence. So it's kind of a prequel story.
Yep. It says following the events of Captain America Civil War.
Yeah. So we're going to do a marathon with everything, just Black Widow that leads up to Civil War.
There you
Coming
go.
Up to Black Widow.
And then what we talked about today on Netflix, Fear Street, Part 2, 1978, comes out this week. I'm very excited. It's limited release. It may be near you. This is interesting. It's called Meander. It's this lady takes
Somebody
a
that walks
car
real slow?
ride. Yeah,
Oh.
it's a lady that takes a car ride from a man. Obviously, she doesn't know, and she
Dun, dun,
wakes
dun.
up someplace else with a countdown bracelet on her arm. So it's going to be an interesting one. Also on Netflix, How I Became a Superhero. That's interesting. We'll talk about that. Limited. That's pretty
It's
much
kind of
it.
short this week.
Yeah, it's a short one.
We have a few other things. So with the 48 Hours movies and Black Widow and talking about Marvel, that probably
Yeah,
takes
it's a
of
lot.
space anyway.
It's a lot.
I meant to talk about these last week just because they're
Yeah.
fun. This is old. There's nothing that's coming out. It's already out. But if you're a karate person or you like martial arts flicks, I just want to point out that I found these on Amazon. If you're like me, when you get one movie, you want to have the whole series,
Yes,
even if
you
the
do.
whole series isn't good. These are all martial arts series that spun off of big screen films that were box office hits and then spun into straight to video sequels,
Okay.
not necessarily starring the same people.
Okay.
And I had been wanting to complete these series for a long time. So with some of my birthday money, yes, I'm a 5-year-old. So some of my birthday
You got
money,
birthday money.
actually, I was ordering stuff that my mother was giving me for birthday. I threw these in. But I found these, they were all like $20 each, I think, maybe $24 each. But first you have, and most of you are not even going to know that there's more than one movie in these franchises.
Yeah, I don't know.
The first one was the Bloodsport franchise, which the very first one is Jean-Claude Van Damme. There ended up being 4 movies in the franchise, with the first one being Van Damme, second 3 Daniel Bernhardt, who you would know as he's one of the agents in The Matrix. He fought John Wick in the nightclub in the first movie.
Okay.
He's also one of the bullies in Nobody and the stunt coordinator in Nobody.
Okay.
He's a big-time stunt coordinator now. So this set has all 4 movies in the Bloodsport franchise. Then you have yet another Van Damme franchise, Kickboxer,
Nice.
which another big
There's
box office
4 of
hit. One of my
those.
favorite of his movies outside of Hard Target. This has all 4 movies in the franchise.
Who knew?
It was Van Damme, but then Sasha Mitchell took over the franchise after he did a show with Suzanne Summers and before he beat his wife. He did these 3 films, and I don't know where he's at now.
It was Suzanne Summers and the guy from Dallas.
Right?
Right?
Bobby.
Yeah, and he was
Patrick Duffy.
Patrick Duffy.
You know why I remember
he
Patrick?
was like the cousin or whatever.
He was like the
big brother.
He lived in like a RV outside.
Yeah.
And he was kind of dumb.
Why do you know Patrick Duffy?
Hold on. And it's a legend. I don't know if he actually been his wife. I just know there was allegations. And the reason I always remember Patrick Duffy's name is because in South Park there was that whole thing about that creature that had Patrick Duffy for a leg.
Oh my!
And lastly, the most exciting for me of them all is American Ninja, which is all 5 movies. American Ninja starred Michael Dudikoff, who was in the first 2 films, and then David Bradley came in, who was introducing David Bradley, who lives in Dallas, and I'm trying to get an interview with him. And Steve James, the late great Steve James, was in the first 3. And then it was a weird franchise because the first 2, I believe, got theatrical releases. The third one was a straight to video when they brought in David Bradley. It was one of those I rented at that video store that used to give me all that stuff. Then they brought American Ninja 4 to the theater again, and they brought back Michael Dudikoff and David Bradley together in the same film. And they put them together, and it's like, what? Both American Ninjas? And then you had American Ninja 5 that was back to video, and this time they brought in Pat Morita.
Huh. Okay.
With David Bradley, no more Michael Dudikoff. So this set has all 5 movies. It's awesome.
These are some pretty good sets.
Yeah,
man.
I only had part 1 of all of them, and now I have a plethora of martial arts extraordinaire.
That's kind of cool.
So I got all of them on Amazon. So if you're fans and looking for them, you can find them on Amazon. This was not a plug for anything they gave me. It was something I bought, but it's awesome, and somebody needed to know about it.
There you go.
Nothing to do with the rest of this.
That's all right. Doesn't matter.
I'm hoping to bring back the Martial Art Movie Monday show soon. And once I get in with a deadline, and when I do, I will definitely be diving into these franchises and talking about them.
All right, then. Well, thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Please go check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. Don't forget to kick that contest button. Click it or ticket. And that's where you find all the free stuff. Please go like us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all of them. The more likes and views we get to the website, the more free stuff we get to give away.
If we get free stuff, you get free stuff.
There you go.
Also, be on the lookout of convention season is back. So there's stuff popping up. Texas Frightmare is coming up. Oh, that sucks. I said it and I'm saying, look at the website down below and it says, thank you for joining us when I did it.
Well,
anyway,
now it's back up.
Texas Frightmare is coming up. All-Con is coming up in October for the makeup thing. So we're going to start popping into conventions. I got boxes of stuff for giveaways.
Come see us.
We're also going to probably put it to prize pack put together for some online related, only Instagrams or only Twitters and that kind of thing to try to clear out some stuff from our prize closet.
It's literally a closet with stuff in it. What?
You almost stabbed me in my eye socket.
I'm sorry. Poor baby.
Anyway, but join us right now next week for our new episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. We're right here on this channel. Same bat time, same bat channel. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Peace.